Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Link to the Past Randomizer League Season 3 Invitational match between the Marcnificent versus Fantallis, representing Old Swagga Jackson and But We're Buddies, respectively. I'm Esmar, and I will be hopefully being joined by Bandman25. We're having a little logistical issues here getting the trackers set up, so Bandman is going to be filling in there for the time being. Right now we have But We're Buddies is still looking to put a win on the board here, so looking to play spoiler to Old Swagga Jackson. This is the Misery Mire League, I believe, and right now that division is fairly close here, so Old Swagga Jackson would love to put a win on the board here. So here we go, we're getting started here. So this is going to be a casual boots. Both of the runners have the... Or no, it's not casual boots, excuse me. Or yes it is, okay. I thought so, I had to double check myself looking at the trackers here. We should be getting that fixed soon enough. So casual boots, start with the boots and a sword. And do the entire escape sequence. So while this escape sequence is something of a formality, the things that you'd like to see and that you'd like to pay attention to are items that are going to open up locations later, like the powder there. That's going to open up the possibility for Magic Bat. Not immediately, though, so it's not a great item to find. Other nice things would be rupees for a potential Zora check and bombs. But other than that, it's mostly just an execution test here, just to make sure you get through this as fast as you possibly can. Ether Medallion? A lot of items that are not going to be valuable until later. We also have two chests that aren't going to contain items. One of them is guaranteed to be found at some point here in the front before the dark section, or potentially the first chest in the dark section, as we need that small key to continue on. And the other is the map, which can really be anywhere. It's kind of nice if it ends up being in Sanctuary and you're paying attention, but you know, you're opening them all anyway, so. And there's that small key. So Fantallis taking a slight lead here with a slightly speedier execution. Yeah, Fantallis decides to give up and goes for the pot, so Marcnificent takes the lead there with that sword kill of the guard. It seems like it takes a while, but walking back to get the pots is deceptively lengthy. And we do find some bombs, which is nice to see before we hit Kakariko later on. Mark taking the bottom route here, as Fantallis takes the top route. With boots, the bottom route is slightly faster, but 90% of the time when you're doing the escape sequence, unless it's a casual boot seed, you're going to be taking that top route just because it's almost always faster, unless you have the boots. And so at 355, Marcnificent is the first into the dark room section. Again, the courtesy light cone is granted here by the by the randomizer to prevent, you know, the option would be force the players to do it in the dark, which is not very friendly, or have the lamp be guaranteed accessible before this point, which is not particularly interesting. 20 rupees in Dark Cross. So we've just got 4 chests left. And 3 chests here. There's our map. Not much of value here. We've got one last hope for escape to pay off here. Yeah, so in week 3, all of our games are using the casual boots preset. Casual for the sword, boots for boots. All right, so a couple of 20 rupee drops and some bombs. Not the healthiest start. We do have powder, we do have ether, but we don't know if we'll need either of those. So we better hope that we see something nice in Kakariko here. And with that, we're not going to be seeing much early divergence here. Neither runner has ended up with items that may cause them to decide to go somewhere else first. Another 20 rupees. We're going to see a pretty standard Lost Woods to Kakariko check here. And Mark decides that the tree pull isn't worth it, decides to talk to the lumberjacks. And yeah, we're seeing both runners check Lumberjack Cave. Another 20 rupees. Now, I often like to give the Lumberjack Cave a check in casual boots, just because you know the 2 things you need to check that are you need to have the boots and you need to defeat Ega 1. Since you already have the boots, it's slightly more likely that you'll end up having to do that at some point. But usually if I don't have the boots, I will... you know, that's sort of when you consider taking a chance, since you wouldn't be able to get it anyway. We're still looking for literally anything at this point, though, so... the big density checks we've got now are Kakariko Well and Blind's Hut. Thankfully, we did get those 3 bombs, since we haven't seen anything else, so we will have enough to at least check the main part of Kakariko. Two 20s. And the flute. That's helpful. When the blue mail showing up. So, Mark's leaf there on the nature link sprite gets a little more exotic here. I don't know where he's from, but around where I live, the leaves don't generally tend to turn blue in the fall. But that flute is nice to find in Kakariko, because we can activate that right away, and that's going to speed up some of the other checks. So, you know, in the absence of anything else, that's going to... You know, it's a consolation prize. It does allow logical mountain access, but there's not too much that can be done up there without the hammer plus mirror or the hook shot. It really only allows 2 checks to really be looked at on its own, and one of them is out of logic. But it's a very nice item to find early. Just because it sort of speeds up just general movement around the world. All right, still looking. We've got 3 more. The shovel, that's it's an interesting find at this point in the game because it lets you do the shovel check, or you potentially could do the shovel check right here as you're leaving town. But right now we have the library to check, the back of tavern here, which Fantallis is going towards right now, and the race game. Now, this is the situation where I personally, were it not a casual boot seed, I would go and check race game blind. With the boots, you really don't lose enough time to go and check it first to risk it. But if I've found this little in Kakariko, then I usually just blind check it. Don't know if either of these runners are going to do that. Looks like Fantallis will. And it's another piece of heart. So Mark gets that information right away, doesn't waste this extra time. And that's the risk. If Mark had seen that it was an important item, Fantallis would have a little edge here, but now Fantallis put all the chips on the table there, and, well, there you go. He's gonna pick it up for his trouble. And now we're heading over towards the South Shore. Again, as Fantallis is now just getting to that shovel check. Just some bombs. So at this point, we're really kind of hoping that Mini Moldarm is going to pay off somehow. Otherwise, we're looking at basically our highest density checks being the Sahasrarla's Closet plus the Eastern Palace dip. Now, I think the item that I'd sort of expect to see here would be the hook shot, because that's going to open up a lot of chests for free, just as one item in on the mountain. So with this few chests knocking about, I'd expect to see the hook shot. If we don't see the hook shot, then we're going to have some stuff hidden in some pretty obscure locations. The book is not what they want to see here. The bow's a little better. The bow lets us clear all of Eastern Palace. I'm not sure we really want to do that since it is the green pendant. Yeah, at this point, you know, we're gonna start expecting Hookshot to show up at any point. This is, I mean, it's gonna show up eventually, but sort of Mini Moldarm Cave was the last hope for the seed to still be kind of nice to us. Here we're gonna have to start getting a little creative with where we're going. I imagine we see both of these runners finish off this South Shore area, and then they'll have some decisions to make. Do you go over to Desert and check that area? It's a little risky because you can't clear the dungeon without glove or fire. Or do you do the Eastern Palace dip, even though it's a pendant? And you could also take this third option here and do the water walk here with the boots in Ice Rod Cave to check some of this stuff back here. Unfortunately, neither of our runners here are anywhere near Zora money. And the logic break not really paying off there. Fantallis opting to go to Hobo. Not much of value on Zora Ledge. Not even going to bother going any further. For obvious reasons, monetary reasons. Yeah, this logic gamble not paying off. Fantallis isn't even going to bother with the Waterfall Fairy. We see Fantallis displaying the power of Ether there. I'm assuming it's going to be a misclick from Quick Swap, the medallion being right next to the flute in their inventory right now. And so yeah, Fantallis is making the Eastern play, which is, I think, the more logical play. You get 3 free chests in here and a guaranteed full dungeon clear, as long as you're comfortable with those dark rooms. And we get our second sword. That puts us lamp away from logical Aga. If we see the lamp, then we have to start considering that the Moon Pearl is going to be on the pyramid. Yeah, so Fantallis decides to skip the Eastern Palace dip and go straight here into Desert, as Marcnificent is making his way up the mountain. Getting this out of logic old man check, rewarded with 5 rupees. So yeah, this is sort of an uncomfortable spot to be in. You can't fully clear anything you know you need to do. Desert Palace is a crystal dungeon, but it is not finishable right now by either of these runners. So Mark is putting all of the eggs here on the Death Mountain basket. If this item isn't something useful, it's a bottle. Mark is probably going to be picking that up because that does open up the possibility of checking Sick Kid. And this is fully in logic. The old man item wasn't in logic, but this one is. So at this point, you're kind of forced to grab it, even though there are 3 other bottles. This could be the only one they logically have access to at this point. Yeah, decides to save and quit to the mountain cave, as that is the fastest location to heal yourself and exit from, so you can just flute. You'll often see runners do that. The old man check was less for the item check and more for that save and quit spot, which is very handy in an early flute seed like this. Fantallis still clearing out Desert Palace, finds the hook shot there. So Fantallis made the correct play here. Very good for Fantallis, since Mark had to make that mountain climb first without having the hook shot. When Fantallis eventually goes up there, which I'm assuming is going to be right after checking Agina here, most likely, Fantallis will be able to go over to Paradox side and most likely get our progression. Mark is probably going to commit to a Eastern Palace dip, potentially here. We'll have to see, though. And the glove in Agina's cave. That's a great find. So yeah, Desert was the play. You wanted to follow that book. That is kind of a rough 50-50, though, because either you decide to follow the book or follow the bow, which is unfortunately what we're seeing Mark doing right now. Now, I agree with this play from Mark, because you're guaranteed to be able to get all of the items in Eastern Palace, as well as the green pendant out of it if you really want to commit to the whole thing. It's just a more rich area in general, as opposed to Desert, where you could end up with, you know, one of the items locked on the boss, which you can't access. But in this case, Desert Palace was 100% the right play. Being rewarded with the hook shot in the vanilla big key chest, and Agina's cave giving him the first glove upgrade. So unless Mark finds something incredibly important here in Eastern Palace, this is a big deficit that he's going to have to make up. And the other advantage here is if the hammer shows up, or the mirror, Fantallis will be able to check Ether Tablet, which Mark would have been able to look at, but wouldn't have been able to check anyway. Not without the Master Sword. Yeah, Fantallis' sprite is, I believe, Bo from Animal Crossing. I don't know if we're going to be seeing it today, but there's a nice little Easter egg with the Dark World sprite. The bunny sprite is literally a bow and arrow. I remember the first time I saw it, I was wondering what was going on, and then I looked up what the name of the sprite was, and then I got the joke. Yeah, Mark not happy about this Eastern Palace, though. And we are dropping into the first 2 chests of Paradox Cave. And at this point, we've got to be assuming we've got something up here, and we do the hammer. So that's going to give us access to the entirety of Tower of Hera, as well as the Ether Tablet, as I mentioned earlier. And we still could find something exciting in here, but that hammer is enough for anybody in this situation. Fantallis feeling pretty good about these routing decisions. The mirror, perfect. That puts the... Oh, and another bottle. So this is a really good spot that Fantallis is in right now. The mirror and the hammer off of the back of sort of a 50-50 dungeon dive. Pretty good return there. Yeah, so there's a possibility that that Fantallis will not be able to clear the Tower of Hera, mainly off the back of the fact that there is no fire source. If the big key is in the vanilla location in the basement, you have to light 4 torches for that. So that would unfortunately be out of the question. However, with the hookshot, Hera Pot will be available, so that logic will be able to be broken a little bit. There could still be an inaccessible item down there. Moon Pearl on Ether Tablet. This is looking like a pretty god route so far for Fantallis. And Mark is in a pretty bad spot here unless this ends up being a Ped Seed. Though silvers on green pendant turn-in would be something.
Yeah, that silver arrow green pendant would be a huge turn-in. So finally getting back on, thanks to T Sigma coming and filling up for us. So
yeah, welcome back, Man. Yeah, it's been a very interesting turn of events here. Just that right after Mini Moldorm Cave, you have to decide where you're going next, which item you're going to follow, and it's made a big difference. Yeah, we find the mushroom in Tower of Hera. A lot of fetch quests to turn in right now. With the hammer, that's both items out of Hera. That's something you'll love to see. But we have a lot of fetch quests we can do right now. We can turn in the magic bat with the powder. We can turn in the mushroom, and we can turn in the bottle. And with with the glove and hammer, I would expect right after Tower of Hera here, maybe go back over and do Spiral Cave. Because I don't think we saw that on the way over.
No, we didn't. He skipped it there.
Yeah, or you could decide to leave it. I personally wouldn't. I'd want to leave as little on the table up here as possible after this first dip. The other opportunity would be to go down. Well, you can't exactly check Spike Cave, not with that many hearts and without any invulnerability items, but you could get a Dark World map check to know if you need to come back up for Turtle Rock or not. I'm not sure if that would be a good play, but yeah, we're going to see the more standard, just check Spiral Cave and skedaddle here.
Yeah, which makes sense with everything you just said. I mean, you don't want to be coming up here and leaving one last location that we just don't want to leave behind. I mean, the only time you'd ever come back to this, unless you have the mirror, you're going to clear all of Dark Death Mountain at the same time. But even then, I mean, we still don't know what Turtle Rock is, so there might be the only other time we'd come up to this. Ooh, there's our fire rod.
Yeah.
You'd come up to this would be near the end of the game.
Yeah, and with items that could still be on there being, you know, the mitts, fire rod, flippers could all be on there. That you don't want to leave that single check, no matter how many others you can currently access. So we might see Fantallis. Okay, Fantallis is going straight to turn in the mushroom. And now I believe we didn't have to go down to the basement. I don't remember. I wasn't watching to see if we saw a Haripot or not. I kind of don't think we did.
No, we did not see a Haripot. He did not go down to the basement, so...
Yeah, so what that means is all of those items are in logic here. Unfortunately, the mushroom doesn't give us anything, but having that out of the way is, you know, it's a quick check you can do. I would assume now we go to Kakariko, turn in the other quests, and I imagine we see Village of Outcasts play here. Maybe wait on the magic powder a bit and roll it in with Smiths if you have to. Especially with the flute and mirror both being in the inventory.
Yeah, that's what Fantallis is going to do. He's going to go head straight up into Dark World. Either with, I mean, he's got the fire rod, so he can clear out Skull Woods. So I mean, it's a perfect play. Then make his way down to Thieves Town. Just kind of depends on your preference. Seems like they always do one or the other. So.
Yeah, and what our remaining pendants are. There are 2 that are still going to be in the Dark World. It could be a logically flipperless seed if Ice Palace and Swamp are both pendants, but we'll see here in just a second. Looks like we have both Thieves Town and Skull Woods are pendants. That's at this point. That's something you roll your eyes at.
Yeah, and that looked like that last 5-6 was Ice Palace. So I mean, we will need the flippers for that. But even though they can fake flipper, I mean, logically, but I don't see that being a high priority of them finding that anytime soon.
But that's something you really don't love to see is you go straight into your logical access to Dark World being, you know, take that village portal, and it ends up being 2 pendant dungeons, and especially Thieves Town, that's a nice one to just do the front of, but if you're really unlucky, you don't get any items out of the front, and then you have to decide if it's worth it to clear the rest of the dungeon, and it's just a big mess. However, we do have, we don't have a logically clearable Eastern Palace, but as soon as we find a lamp, that's logical ped access. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a ped check here from Fantallis.
So it looks like our 2 items are going to be in the back there at Skull Woods, and it looks like Fantallis is just skipping out on it.
Yeah, I mean, I won't say that's a bad move. Is that's a hefty time investment when you can just do this north area, make your way over to Catfish, and, you know, get these checks out of the way, and you know, if you end up finding the mitts, then you can go south up into the village again and do the village checks then, and get Hype Cave, get Dig Game Stumpy out of the way so that you can just mirror and flute for Smith Chain if you have to. Yeah, but right now we're kind of stuck on dungeon access. Fantallis actually might play this into pod because there's a potential for a Kern jump here.
Yeah, with this current route that he is going, yeah, that, or if he does the current jump, or maybe do the Ancilla glitch here with both bombs and arrows. I've seen a lot of runners do that lately, compared to that bomb jump.
Yeah, I'm kind of a newcomer to the Kern jump. I've only ever attempted it twice, and I got it second try, so I can't really speak to how difficult it is, because that could have been just a fluke chance. But it's all timing. I'll talk more about it if Fantallis decides to go for it.
Well, you're already better than me because I've never been very good at it. So.
Yeah, looks like Fantallis is abandoning that route and deciding to go back into town here. Maybe that was just a play to get those checks out of the picture. And I think with the routing that Fantallis took here, you know, finding the hookshot and glove really nicely early on, that's something you feel you have the liberty to do just to sort of make your decisions in the future a little easier. That you feel like, okay, you know, you have some leeway to make a slightly chancy play by just doing those 2 logical checks up there. Find another shield. So that's all 3 shields that we found. The last one being in Waterfall Ferry, which Fantallis has not yet checked.
It looks like Marcnificent going to follow up in here into what Fantallis has already done and check his Dark World access.
Yeah, we'll see if he decides to go somewhere different after entering the Dark World. Maybe he decides to go straight into the village rather than the Skull Woods dip. I don't know if Mark checked Spiral Cave and got the Fire Rod. It's not on the tracker, but okay.
Yeah, he did. That was one of his last checks that he made up there. So find the big key right away here in Thieves Town. Oh, there is our Titan's Myth. There's our second glove in that second chest here into a pendant Thieves Town.
Yeah, that's honestly not a bad spot for it to be. Pendant Thieves Town is front of Pendant Thieves Town, I should say, is a pretty friendly spot.
Last several races that I've come so far, it seemed like all the dungeon items has been in the front while all the stuff is in the back. But right now, it's 2 items. We've already found the big key, so 2 items going to be here in the back. And it looks like he's just going to nope right out of it.
Yeah, I mean, you've got the mitts. That's a big item find there. Because again, you know, that's a bunch of checks up on Dark Death Mountain if you really need to go up there. That's all of the Smith chain available, which is great. That actually is a pretty good indicator that you'd have to do Smith chain because you have all of the items for everything here. This is basically the easiest Smith chain is ever going to be.
Yeah. Oh, and there's our lamp.
Yeah, kind of interesting to check that first. Usually you see runners go and grab the Smith first and check that on the way up to deliver him. Okay, yeah, looks like Fantallis is committing to only some of those checks here because well, you can get back to that portal with the hammer. I've never seen this particular way of routing these checks before.
Just some bombs there on Magic Bat. So a lot of these one-off checks he's doing right now not really coming in handy today.
Yeah, and as I mentioned earlier, that lamp is going to put all 3 pendant dungeons fully in logic, which is a little spooky.
Okay, Mark just found the blue cane there in Skull Woods. I do not recall if I saw Fantallis find that.
Yeah, I think Fantallis just checked that front area, didn't go to that middle chest. Probably as part of the, the plan was, go check at those front, 4 chests or whatever it was. And then go over to North Side, check Graveyard Ledge and King's Tomb, and gamble on leaving the back of Skull Woods. So yeah, Mark is giving us our ped check.
Oh, just pocket money. Dang it.
Okay.
I mean, I know there's been ped seeds, but I haven't seen a ped seed yet myself in this league this year. I've seen it in past leagues, but would like to see one this season.
I think I have seen one. Though I don't remember if it was that or a ladder race I did, but they're always memorable, but always for the wrong reasons. But Mark is going to be pretty happy that he checked that when he finds that lamp, because then he's not going to wonder if he has to do all of Skull Woods and Thieves Town just for the pendants.
And pod not being bow locked, we did find that key there in that first chest.
Yeah, and that lamp would lead me to go straight to pod as well, just because there's so much now that's in logic in this dungeon. The whole thing is logically clearable. If it was the fire rod, then there would still be quite a bit that's in logic. But regardless, the whole dungeon is full clearable. But the lamp is an obvious choice to go to pod. It's a fairly check heavy dungeon, and you get the crystal progress anyway. Mark, on the other hand, is doing a full clear of yet another pendant dungeon.
Yeah, which is kind of surprising that he's doing that. Now, I mean, granted, he doesn't really have a whole lot that he can clear. I mean, he can go to pod, Skullwoods and Thieves Town, but other than that, I mean, now that he's got his fire sources, he can complete desert.
Yeah, at this point, you'd love to be able to route that clear in with your Mire clear later on. And speaking of the Mire clear, if it's opened by Ether, then we are red cane away. There's another bottle in the back, and that's Mark is getting a salmon quid out of there.
And that was our second item there out of Skullwoods. So just the blue cane and that red bottle.
So yeah, unfortunately, the gamble not paying off, decides to full clear Skullwoods rather than dipping it like Fantallis did, and Fantallis then went and cleared the front of Thieves Town, was rewarded with the mitts. So this looks to me like a couple of gambles sort of piling up. I guess the first the gamble on Eastern Palace wasn't really much of a gamble. That to me feels like more of a 50-50, but Skullwoods, in my opinion, is definitely a gamble to commit that much to a pendant Skullwoods.
And getting a look here at Hype Cave, just some love, some money, and some more love. So nothing there in Hype Cave, but so far here in Pod, I mean, it's been nothing but dungeon items. We've seen 4 keys. We've seen the map and the big key. So all our items, all 5 items here of Pod is going to be here in the back. And looks like Fantallis is trying one of my most common fails of this game is the hammer yump here, which I'm envious of all the runners that can do this.
Yeah, it's a sort of a fun little quirk, because you're not really breaking any rules. It's just a regular jump. Going over that wall is actually fairly simple, since it's only a wall from one side. Mark does find the temper sword though.
Yeah, at the bombos. That's always a nice thing to find. There, that third sword. And it looks like he's going to go check Cave 45 before maybe going up north.
Yeah, I imagine Mark is going to be picking up Stumpy and Dig Game here too. Just because, again, Mark doesn't know where those mitts are. So Smith Chain isn't really in logic right now.
Ooh, there's our last sword. There's our butter sword.
Yeah, so I'm Fantallis, unless we end up with a go mode items hunt, Fantallis probably isn't going to find that last sword. And not too big of a deal. Usually the difference between gold sword and tempered sword doesn't make a huge difference outside of, a couple of boss fights. They're much easier quick kill strats with the gold sword than the tempered sword. But in terms of the final Ganon fight, it certainly makes it a lot easier to have the gold sword, but in terms of overall time save, it's not necessarily going to be that huge of a deal.
Yeah, it's true. Wow, a very quick heart container there in the dig game. Just 2 digs. But yeah, you're absolutely right, though. When it comes to that Ganon fight, it seems like every runner can do a 1-in-1, getting all 12 hits in those first 2 cycles, so...
Yeah, because it's I believe it's still 6 hits if it's a tempered sword spin. So knowing the setups to get those double spin hits in is basically key to doing it with the tempered sword. With the gold sword, you don't really have to worry about it. You can just do the quick slashes, and it's fairly trivial. And honestly, the way that the fight was intended to be done, since you're given the silver arrows and gold sword in the same location. But it's perfectly doable with anything down to the Master Sword.
Yeah, but that's a long Ganon fight, though. With 24 spins on each one, and then phase 3 just a spin for each of the 4 hits, and then at the very end, 24 more spins, if I remember correctly.
Yes. Yeah, it's long, but a lot of the time, if you know you can do it, it sure beats the hell out of looking for another sword.
Yeah, that it does. Me personally, I don't have the confidence in doing that, so.
So Mark is actually going to be picking up that that gold sword pretty quickly here. I can't imagine Mark doing anything other than a pod full clear at this point. As Fantallis is finishing up the dungeon, again with a hefty lead, Mark making a kind of strange routing decisions in general. You know, the kind of stuff where you're hoping it pans out. I'm not sure I get the reasoning behind not doing Village of Outcasts and Front of Thieves Town at this point.
Yeah, that is kind of a strange thing not to do.
It just strikes me as a lot to leave on the table. Sure, you can come back to it later, but you know, it's if you leave at right when you get there, then you're gonna have to find a time to come back. You know, and it's a pendant dungeon now, and you already know that.
Yeah, I know. Well, and he spent a lot of time in all the pendant dungeons so far. I mean, he did full clear Eastern, he full cleared Swamp Palace. So I was just kind of surprising that he would leave that one pendant there left on the table, especially since it was right there. It's just south of Skull Woods.
Yeah, I think he beat Skull Woods and picked up the bottle. I don't think he actually got the pendant. Not that it's going to matter, since he knew he didn't need the pendant. But yeah, this is because Fantallis just now is getting to Hype Cave. Probably, I imagine, you know, unless because I don't think we have any other logical dungeon clears that we can do right now. There's an out of logic Ice Palace.
We can finish our Desert Palace now.
Yeah. So Fantallis might play this into that.
And we can complete the first half of Mire unless we find the Red Cane in its vanilla location. But I mean, at least that gives us our Misery Mire access. Gives us Mire Shed and Checkerboard. So just a few more checks there.
Yeah, so Fantallis opting not to check Bombo's tablet here. Might check it later if we're still looking for an item when it comes time to do Swamp Palace, but otherwise I wouldn't expect to see it. So Fantallis, I'm gonna guess I don't see him doing anything other than checking these through Dig Game up into Smith Turn-In. With the mitts in hand, it's pretty obvious.
Yeah, that would make good routing if he picks up the Smith, turns him in, turns in the purple chest, does Bombos, and then while he's there, go ahead and full clear Swamp Palace.
Yeah, and the nice thing about doing the Smith chain this way is coming up from the south is you don't have any reason not to simply mirror and flute after you pick up the purple chest. So you don't have to do any of that walking with it business.
And Fantal's getting his very quick heart container there in the Dig Game, fluting out.
Okay, so it looks like we're not seeing the Smith chain here. Okay, yeah, decides not to invest the extra time before doing Desert. Again, that's a reasonable play. It's really tempting to really go for that check efficiency, but you don't want to get drawn in so much by it that you skip your dungeons. I didn't quite see that. I think maybe it was Quake.
Yep, it was a Quake medallion needed to get into Misery Mire. Mire Shed, we got 300 rupees here, as well as... Ooh, there's our Ice Rod.
So that's a good thing to find. I don't imagine that's going to be something hard to find, though. That's... You do that every time. I'm pretty sure the only time I see anybody not check what's in the Mire Shed there is if they already have everything they would ever want. That's almost a place you check even if you're just hoping for silvers. Almost. It kind of depends sort of what tier you're in.
Yeah, since we can't get into Mire now, it looks like that Fantallis is actually going to go finish up Desert, which is a good call. Give him his third crystal. But going from there, I'm going to scratch my head on that. I don't know really where he would go after that. I mean,
it's not too bad. It's not too bad to finish up Smith Chain by fluting to Kakariko and taking the portal, especially with the Mitz portal. But again, I sort of agree with going straight to desert rather than finishing up that Smith Chain. Because did we see both items or just one? Yes, we saw both because I think it was bombs on the torch, if I'm not mistaken. Bombs on the torch and the hook shot right side.
Here in desert, no, we've only seen one.
Oh, so we have only seen one. Oh, is the map on the torch?
Yeah, I'm thinking it was just a map. The other item is here on Lamos.
Yeah, so you've got an item on the boss. It's less items, but it's time you have to spend anyway. So it's a lot more efficient to do this.
Yeah, we missed it there.
Big T on torch.
We just missed it though, but Marcnificent did find his butter sword down in the basement, making his way here through the the dark maze, finding his bombs.
Yeah, a little unfortunate for Mark that he didn't end up getting the mitts in Thieves Town and the lamp off of Hammer Pegs, because while he does get that sword, I'm not sure it's gonna even make up the amount of time he's losing to this dark pod here.
So just like that, it's sub 46 minutes. Fantallis takes down Lamos. That gives him his third crystal of the game. Lamos didn't drop anything, just a red rupee there. So be interesting to see where he goes from here. He's fluting out, and Mark is noping out a pod, which
I believe our second red crystal is Ice Palace. So we need to be able to clear Ice Palace. It's not in logic yet, so rushing it just for the pyramid clear isn't really a great option, I would say. So we see Fantallis making his way up the mountain, which I think it's a little bit ballsy, but I think I agree with it. Because if in any of these 6 checks that are available right up here, the Cane of Samaria shows up, that's a Turtle Rock full clear.
Yeah, we're both, and it looks like we're getting different checks on both of them we have not seen before. Mark here making his way to Pyramid. Looks like Fantallis is going to give us Turtle Rock. See what our entry is for there. But yeah, I mean, this does make it was a toss-up between up here or Swamp Palace. I mean, your choice. Both of them are about the same.
We can't really do Swamp Palace without the flippers. Is the big sort of. I'd almost say it's a problem, but it's kind of a saving grace here.
Yeah, I kind of forgot that we didn't have those flippers yet. For some odd reason, when I think of everything else except for the one item on our feet that we need to actually finish it.
Oh yeah, Mark. So Mark not doing Catfish because Mark still has these North Dark World checks to do.
Bombs and a heart piece here in Super Bunny.
Yeah, and we did see that Turtle Rock is Bombos, so that's the other 2 medallions we need to find. So if Bombos and Samaria are both in Hookshot Cave, that's pretty surprising, but that would be convenient.
Yeah,
we also have Spike Cave in Logic, though Fantallis doesn't know that yet.
Well, he does now have Red Mail, even though Spike Cave doesn't matter what kind of armor you have. Spike Cave takes always 1 hard damage, but he does have 12. He does have a Red Goo, I believe. Or no, he doesn't. He just has... I'm trying to think of what he has in his bottle. One's a green. I can't remember what the other one was. Because I think the red bottle was at Skull Woods. And Fantallis has not been there yet.
Oh yeah, the bee. It was the bee that was in Spectacle Rock Cave.
Yeah, because that was our bottle that we needed for Sick Kid.
Fantallis not too happy with that mountain climb. I agree with the play. It's pretty juicy up there, but it really didn't get us anything other than that red mail, which is useful, but It's not going to win you the race.
And Marcnificent finally making his Thieves Town play. Going to check out his 3 items here. He's going to get his mirror shield, 20 rupees that he just got there in C-shape, heart container. He's going into Thieves Town, so that's a good play for him. That's going to give him his Titan's Mint.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you kind of just have to go in there, right? I mean, at least the front, because that's basically 4 relatively free chests.
Yeah, I mean, at least the first 4 you should do. But as much as he's been gambling on the pendants, I would not be surprised if he actually full clears this one.
I'm a little interested in what Fantallis is planning on doing here.
Oh, this is actually one of those new glitches that I actually use all the time. Basically, what he does is he pulls out and grabs that follower of the purple chest, and then he runs straight all the way to where the locksmith is normally. He mirrors over, and while he's still in his invincibility frames, talks to the keysmith and gets his item.
Yeah, what confuses me a little bit is why not mirror and flute? Unless you're hoping this is the flippers, you can't turn right around and do Skull Woods. I suppose you do Bombos tablet here. Yeah, because Fantallis hasn't done that, so Fantallis is going to be picking up that last sword as well.
Yeah, and just kind of what we thought would happen. Mark did check the first 4 in Thieves Town. Got his Titan's Mist. Now he's clearing out Village.
Yeah, at this point, I imagine Mark goes and does the entirety of Smith Chain here, because Mark has spent enough time sort of faffing about. He's gonna want to roll all of this in together.
Yeah, so from here, it's kind of hard to figure out where they're going to go. I mean, they can take.
I almost want to say it's Vanilla Flips. It's like, what, it's Flips on where could it be? Back of Thieves Town. We haven't seen Zora. We haven't seen Catfish. Other than that, there's not a whole lot that's out on the table. There's a Fake Flippers Ice Palace dive, but
yeah, that's really about it where we can be at least that we can check right now. So yeah, that's got to be the next place. I mean, he's going sort of in the right direction, it looks like.
The other option is for the Bombos Medallion and Cane of Samaria to show up, or Cane of Samaria and one other medallion, because that would allow us to clear either Misery Mire or Turtle Rock, which would be unpleasant.
Yeah, definitely unpleasant is a nice word for it. It seems like this seed is starting to be mean to us. Just trying to find out where we're going, because I mean, yeah, I got my notes here in front of me, but man, if I didn't have my notes, this seed would be making my head spin just because of where we've been and what we're still looking for.
Yeah, and I mean, that tends to happen when you get it's a numbers game, right? You always want to check those high density checks, because most of the time you're going to find what you need from them, right? But then there's always that one where, there's an item on Zora and the checks don't allow you to check it early really easily. And those are the kind of seeds that you end up wasting a lot of time hunting, just because the one place you need to go is kind of the last place you'd ever want to go, because you don't want to bank on being wrong there,
Yeah, here we are finally getting our Zora check here. I mean, we were here about, 45 minutes ago, but unfortunately did not have the money for it. So they both runners just skipped it. And
so
Zora
if this isn't anything, Vanilla Flips, nice.
Wow, it's been a long time since I've seen Vanilla Flippers. Wow. So then that gives us our Swamp Palace access now. That puts Ice Palace and Logic.
Yeah, I imagine we see Swamp first.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. With Swamp Palace getting your 6 items here, Hopefully we don't have to go left side compared to your Ice Palace, your 3 items that are severely spread out depending on which way you go. Well, we can't do the Icebreaker yet because we don't have that Cane of Samaria.
Yeah, which is precisely the reason you'd want to do Swamp first, just because you don't want to do Ice Palace first and then find the Cane of Samaria in Swamp. So the real question here is, after spending so long, almost last locationing those flippers on Zora, there was still the back of Thieves Town, but at that point, you may as well be last locationing it. With that late flippers find, how much pressure are you feeling to skip left side, even if you know there's at least 1 item over there? You still need 3.
Yeah, I mean, at this rate, I mean, you got 3 items left. Even though you really 53 minutes in to finding the flippers, I know I would want to check left side, even if there is just 1 item over there, mainly for the fact of what we're still looking for in go mode. I mean, right now we need both medallions. Those could literally be anywhere. And there'd be nothing worse if we have to go into Ice Palace and clear that, go to the Pyramid Ferry.
Ooh, map first chest. That's not something you like to see.
No, it's not. So that's already 1 item on the left side. It depends now if we're going to see a second or the big key and then something in the big key chest.
Yeah, the thing I like to see in that first chest, when I'm hoping I can skip left side swamp, is I like to see the big key in one of the first 2 chests, because then you can check the big chest, and if you still haven't seen any dungeon items, then you're in a pretty good spot to hope that none of the rest of the ones in back are dungeon items either. But again, if you see 1 off the bat, then at least one of the items on left side is going to be worth a non-dungeon item.
And there are 56 minutes. Marcnificent does complete his Desert Palace. That gives him his 3rd crystal.
Unfortunately, going up the mountain, because it's the right play to make. You've got 6 checks here. Oh, you've got what over by Zora? 1? There's literally 1 check that Mark has over there. I suppose he could wrap a catfish in with it too, like Fantallis did, but it's still a hefty time investment for 2 checks. Unfortunately, it's the one he has to make.
Yeah, and there's your big key that you were asking for there in Swamp Palace, and there's our first item with just a heart piece.
Yeah, so we are seeing that left side skip, it looks like.
Not seeing the diver down there with the bomb strats there on Fantallis, so I fear we might see that, but...
Yeah, I know a lot of people are very much used to the Cane of Samaria method. But obviously that's not an option. It's also much easier, and even if you know how to do the bomb setup, a lot of the time it's not worth it, unless you're sure you can, pull it off 100% of the time. So far, decent luck for the rest of Swamp. So far, the compass hasn't shown up yet. Could still be on the boss. At which point, I imagine we'd probably see a left side redip.
Yeah, if this becomes the compass and what we're looking for, I would be very hard pressed not to go back in, because if that's where one of our items I would feel it would be at, I know I'd start feeling defeated right there. So
it would be pretty defensible to skip it if it was 1 item and you're looking for 1 item. But if it's 2 items and you're looking for 3, it's you don't skip left side.
Yeah, and right there, just under 59 minutes, Fantallis takes down Argus. Oh, he finds the compass. So that means we got 2 items on the left-hand side.
Yeah, so now we're going to get to see exactly how behind Fantallis feels. Oh, one other check I neglected to mention was that Spike Cave check, which we see Mark doing now, because Mark has the advantage of having found that Cane of Samaria in Skull Woods. This is going to be pretty trivial with half magic and the cane. So Mark might end up pulling something out here. not to be.
Well, the nice thing though, even though it wasn't an item there in Spike Cave, he's very limited as well. Hopefully, he's going to start now making his way over to that northeast side where he can pick up his flippers.
Yeah, it's either that or back of Thieves Town, which still could come back into play. Again, there are 2 items back there, and either one of those could be the medallion we're after.
Yeah. Oh, he's going to ice. Oh.
Yeah, this is it's a risky play because this Cane of Samaria, I mean, it could be in here. However, we do know that it's not. I mean, it could still be on the left side of Swamp, but it's not in the relatively rich Swamp Palace. Flippers, however, are not going to show up in Ice Palace.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that would be available for in here for sure would be his medallions. I mean, the cane might be able to be in here.
Yeah, there is the possibility that logically the Ice Palace is locked by the Cane of Samaria, logically requiring the Cane of Samaria to clear no matter. Oh, there it is. There's the cane. That's a big fine for Mark. That's a huge fine for Mark because now Mark doesn't have to lose any time here in Ice Palace.
Yeah,
and depending on where the medallions show up, may get to skip left side of Swamp entirely.
Yeah, so now that you find that red can, how much are you scratching your head now? I mean, because basically the only thing we're looking for can literally be anywhere.
Well, hopefully if Mark is keeping his head on, he still knows that there's only 4 possible locations for the flippers. Because again, it's Zora, Catfish, and the 2 checks in Thieves Town still. Because that cane is locked by the flippers, logically.
Yeah, and left side right now did not have anything, just a heart piece and 50 rupees, so nothing there. Hopefully he's going to make his way over here to
Ice Palace right now.
And so he's not too far behind with that red cane. So, but again, going to come down to where those medallions are at.
Yeah, I'm kind of, for Mark's sake, I'm hoping that the medallions don't show up for him. Because if they do, then it's going to make it harder for him to find those flippers, which he needs to get for Swamp. On the other hand, I do understand completely why Mark is decided to make that very strange seeming dip into Ice Palace. You know, at this point, it's a big play you feel you've got to make. You've been an hour 2 and you're running out of checks.
And there's our cape on Mark's side. I mean, that does open up bumper cape, but I believe we already checked that, and that was just 100 rupees earlier.
Yeah, still a major lead for Fantallis here. It's starting to look like we're gonna have to go into the back of Thieves Town after all. The Pyramid Ferry is in logic, because with the Ice Palace clear, that's gonna be our second 5-6. So it's again down to 4 checks. It's looking like, to me anyway. Pyramid Ferry and back of Thieves Town. If we don't see one here, have we seen all 3 items in Ice yet?
No, not yet. All we've seen is the red cane and the cape. Cold Stare is going to have our last item for us.
So, in a sense, that's kind of, you know, the saving grace of this seed. At least is from Fantallis' perspective. Mark still doesn't know where those dang flippers are. But it's, you know, at this point, you know, your options are pretty small. Misses the spin. That's painful. Red mail is going to help a little bit, but you know, a single autumn leaf still isn't going to protect much against those hugs from those puffs.
And it looks like we might miss it. Uh-oh. Oh, come on. We want to see what's on Cold Stare. Well, at least we know Fantallis isn't too far behind, so at least we'll figure out what's on Cold Stare after this. But since we do have a little bit of downtime right now, let's we just want to give a big shout out to our runners right now, Marcnificent and Fantallis. If you have not already done so, please give them a follow for both these runners. They've done a great job so far. Please give my co-com Esmar a follow. Give our wonderful tracker who's been filling in for us with T Sigma. Just give their teammates also a follow if you haven't already on Old Swagger Jackson with Walther and Kern. And then on But We're Buddies, you got Chelsea Excellent and Locke. Give all of them a follow. All these guys and girls have done an amazing job of keeping us entertained and just do an amazing job. Things that I wish that I could do.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this has been a slow seed. I'd be happy to be, 2 items from go mode at an hour 5. Just saying.
Oh yeah. And okay, so he did beat Cold Stare. We are now back on Mark's side. Got the red bomb.
Yeah, so this is actually great for Mark because Mark is going to be wrapping this in together with Catfish
and Zora.
So the flippers are going to start to make the rest of the seed fall together for him, because he's now going to know how he's expected to get that cane. Ooh, looks like, yeah, because we've seen both of the items in Skull Wood from Mark. Fantallis is probably going to end up dipping the back of Skull Woods, perhaps too. He's going to have to decide between Skull Woods back or Thieves Town back. Not a great spot.
Yeah, both of them are 2 items apiece. Even though we do know what Skull Woods had. Skull Woods did have that blue cane and a red goo. We do not know what the back 2 are in Thieves Town. So
the other thing too is Fantallis has all of Eastern Palace. How long do you a 4-item Eastern Palace with that green pendant turn in? Like how long do you decide to do Thieves Town back before then, or do you take the chance and do Eastern? That's sort of coming back to bite Fantallis that really nice routing earlier. At least Mark's got a lot of that stuff out of the way.
Yeah, that definitely is a head scratcher on that one. I mean, if you want to say you want to do it because item wise, then Eastern makes 100% complete sense with just 4 against 2.
Yeah, Fantallis also doesn't know it's not a ped seed, whereas Mark knows that.
Yeah, that is true. He did check ped a little bit earlier in the race. Finally going to pick up his flippers here. Yeah, it's basically like the Robert Frost poem. You got 2 roads. Which way you going to go? Because both of them make sense.
Yeah, we see Mark do Swamp Palace now for sure. Because, those flippers showing up. Okay, that's the last item you need. Honestly, probably going to end up clearing the left side too, which is a little unfortunate for Mark. I mean, if looking back on the race, if he had, had the eye in the sky, he would have loved to see himself able to, skip left side, but that's really not going to happen.
Yeah, especially, I mean, it had a medallion showed up, then I could see him skipping it, saving a little bit of time on that, but...
However, we know that 100%, unless there's something crazy I'm forgetting, we are going to find Bombos and or Quake in the back of Thieves Town.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's really about the only places that I can look at. We know Ped was dead because that was money. I'm kind of just looking over my notes here. Yeah, that's all we have left. We pretty much have seen everything that we have seen so far, except for the chooch checks left at Meyer. Or not at Meyer, sorry, at Thieves Town.
Yeah, I almost wonder if which of... Because Fantallis at this point is probably going to, full clear Eastern. May even decide to go Skullwoods first, just to to check if it's a ped seed. Though, you know, you might decide to do Thieves Town first instead. It's kind of, both of them are kind of short dungeons to clear right at the moment. So
Yeah, and as you say that, I mean, I've seen a lot of runners that will, if they're thinking, okay, it's going to be a ped seed, then they're going to save Skull Woods for last. So it would not surprise me one bit to actually see him go into Thieves Town first, clear
yeah,
those back 4 items, defeat Blind, then go all the way to Skull Woods. Don't go into the, well, actually, yeah, they go ahead and straight to the back to clear it. I mean, they do have a book that before they actually use the fire rod to get into the back of it, go check the ped.
yeah. There is an item on Mothula. It's the bottle of red potion. So the main question is how well are you keeping track of what's left? Because for Fantallis, Fantallis is still gonna have Spike Cave up on the mountain, which is now in logic from the cape as far as he's concerned. So you know, you could decide to check Skullwoods first to make sure whether or not it is a ped seed, but I would agree that generally with this few checks left, the smarter play would be to go and check Thieves Town.
Yeah, because I mean, yeah, he does have a Spike Cave, but how far out of the way Spike Cave is right now, it's hard to think that they would go to that first. I think that would literally be the last location they would go.
Yeah, I mean, it's knowing that there's something other than the stuff that you'd, you know, if Spike Cave wasn't in logic, then 100% it makes more sense to check Thieves Town, since you'd need to do them both anyway. But if there was more than just Spike Cave, then it might make sense to check Skull Woods just to determine whether or not those 2 dungeon clears are something you have to do. But I would expect us to see Thieves Town first here. Probably from both of these runners, given the information that they have access to.
Yeah, because if I remember correctly, other than because Marcnificent has already completed Eastern, he's getting ready to finish up Swamp here. Unfortunately, he's checking left side, not going to find what he's looking for. Yeah, I think it's going to be a race of who's going to get there first. I mean, I think Fantallis is going to get there just a little bit quicker because he's only a room away from the boss.
Yeah, it's really, again, down to whether Fantallis decides to check Skull Woods first. Checking Skull Woods, I think, is the less logical and also, in this case, the incorrect play to make. Mark is going to instantly know as soon as he opens Waterfall Chest here. Well, not in a minute or two. Mark is going to know 100% that it's in the back of Thieves Town. Mark having already cleared out Skull Woods, those are the only checks he's going to have remaining. Still not going to feel good because it's a last location, but his opponent is basically doing the same thing, last locationing it.
Yeah, he's going to now, Fantallis takes down Armos Knight's going to go get his big 20 here at Saha. Gets his flute out, and let's see, where's he going? Hopefully he's going to flute to 4. Or flute to 3. And no, he's not.
Oh, yeah, he might have skipped Waterfall Fairy. He went straight to Swamp after that, because he got the flippers on Zora. He didn't walk back. He saved and quit. So he never came back and got these because he went the normal way. He mirrored from Catfish. So yeah, he never checked this. He's gonna pick up that mirror shield. So again, all of this time that Mark lost early is kind of coming back. I think overall Fantallis has lost less time to routing efficiencies than Mark has. Mark having made some big guesses that didn't end up turning out. And here it's just all down to whether or not Fantallis holds up or down after walking into this portal.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising that as early in this game as Mark spent on diving pennant dungeons, it wasn't until probably 20 minutes after, 20, 30 minutes after he finished Skull Woods, when he finally checked the first 4. But that's all he did.
Yeah, and and this is completely, you know, if you're looking at the spoiler log, you're gonna expect this 100%. You know, who's going to dip back of Pendant Thieves Town after finding the mitts in the front? You know.
And at 1 hour 14 minutes 50 seconds down goes Argus. That gives him his 5th crystal. Hopefully, he's now going to make his way back to Thieves Town. That's his only check left.
Yeah, and he's gonna hope he sees Quake and not Bombos. He's gonna hope he sees both Quake and Bombos, but you'd prefer to see Quake than over Bombos here, because if you see Bombos, then Quake's probably in TR, and then you're feeling very sad.
Well, here's the one that kind of worries me, and it just popped in my head. I mean, he's got 2 checks. Let's say he goes into Thieves Town. You go all the way, and we go to the attic chest. That's where we find one of our medallions. Do you nope out, or do you finish the rest of the way?
You finish. If you're Mark, you finish it. And then at this point, if you're a Fantallis, you do the same thing. Because Fantallis is now gonna be behind. Because as I was sort of postulating, sort of contrary to what I guessed would happen, Fantallis does decide to make the Skull Woods play first. So, you know, losing all the same time that Mark did.
Yeah, I mean, right now, though, I mean, you really can't fault him for this decision. I mean, it was the same number of items regardless of which way you went. It just really depends on which one you can do faster.
Yeah, and again, there is that extra factor of knowing whether or not it's going to be a pedestal seed or not. And Fantallis also, you know, has the extra thing of, you know, I did leave Spike Cave up on the mountain. So that could be, you know, something you just want that peace of mind of knowing that it is a pedestal seed. Unfortunately, Mind is not set at ease here. Finds nothing in Skull Woods. Now it's 66% chance it's in Thieves Town as far as Fantallis is concerned.
Yeah, I'm finding just a heart container there in the attic. So our at least one of our medallions has to be here down in the basement. I mean, we still do not have the small key yet in Thieves Town. We did find the compass and the big key a little bit earlier, so maybe we'll get lucky and the small key is locking itself in the big chest.
I mean, either way, if you unlock a small key here, you just go and open it. It's not a big loss. At this point, you know you're leaving after you find the next item.
Yeah, and there's our key.
Yeah, I wouldn't really feel too bad at this point about any placement of items in Thieves Town, because you're basically guaranteed that no matter what's happening, your opponent is going to do the same thing. Because again, at this point, nobody's going to take that 50-50 on blind versus big chest. You just go and open the big chest. There's no real way to route that to save any time, regardless of where you pick up that small key.
Yeah, and our last item is now on blind. Basically, the difference right now in time is really only about 2 minutes. And that can be made up in no time between between these two runners. And that 2 minutes is when they entered into Thieves Town. So
yeah, interesting to note about that, though, that the lead is now in the other direction, and now it's Mark with the pretty, with I mean not in a significant lead, not a huge margin, but given how behind Mark has been looking for the last hour, this is very good for Mark.
Oh, we find Bombos.
I mean, it is what it is.
Not the medallion we wanted to find.
This is actually great for Mark, because this is an extra mountain trip for Fantallis. Fantallis is probably going to want to check Spike Cave now. You don't want to not check it again. Might decide to put it off until after Turtle Rock. but definitely going to be on the mind.
Nice thing is though, I mean, this is obviously for full clearable, but it doesn't really matter if you're in go mode or not when it comes to TR. It's literally about the exact same thing.
Yeah, the biggest difference is whether or not you skip lava chest or not if you see the big key early. Because the only thing, if you see the big key before the lava chest, the only thing that the lava chest can contain is a small key or nothing. And if you steal the small key that you need to get to it, then you don't need whatever's in there. If you're not in go mode, then it could still be the item you're looking for. But if you're in go mode, then you just steal the key and skip it every time.
Yeah, because I'm trying to recall the key logic of Turtle Rock, because if you didn't have the fire rod, it's very specific. But with but I know the rest of the way. I'm trying to think. So when you know it's a key, because usually what is it? I think you need like, if you've already seen like 2 or 3 keys, and you know there can't be a key in the lava chest. I can't remember exactly what it is. I might want to do some more research on that.
Now, one thing that's interesting here, you see Mark going to the left first. That's pretty standard. Almost everybody does that. However, I've heard tell that with the boots and mirror, the mirror most significantly, it's actually faster to check the right side first and then do the left side and go north. I've just heard tell of it once, so I can't confirm or deny it. It's apocryphal at this point, but
I couldn't tell you either.
It doesn't make a huge amount of difference.
Yeah, and right there is Bombos for Fantallis. Unfortunately, does not save and quit before that blue pennant falls. So he's got stuck here with the celebration scene here at the very end. But now going to make his way up the mountain and finding 2 small keys here on the firelock side of Turtle Rock.
Yeah, so now there's only one possibility to skip that lava chest if the big key shows up here in Chain Chomps. If it's not in Chain Chomps, then you know the big key has to be in that lava chest, because that's the last place it can be before every other check is locked behind that big key. Yeah, there's also something else with the key logic regarding whether or not you skip the big chest itself. So it's something like 99% of the time you're not going to need a big key in the big chest. So it would require you to need, the small key in the big chest. If there's a small key in the big chest and you stole the one from earlier or something, is a very small chance that you won't be able to get what you need on in Laser Bridge. Again, something I've only heard once, so take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, Fantallis trying to make his way to TR. Unfortunately, he gets dead rocked, has to go back here into that Paradox Cave.
Yeah, so I imagine we didn't see the big key show up.
No, we did. It was in that Chain Chomp room.
Okay. Well, again, and the fact that that was an item pull is the exact reason you don't skip that chest in go mode. Especially in Mark's situation, where Mark knows with 100% certainty that Quake is inside this dungeon.
Yeah, that's only our first item that we have found so far, which is kind of hard to believe. I mean, being this far into Turtle Rock, only finding three keys, and then the compass and the big key. Mark needs to be careful here. I mean, yeah, he is on red mail, but 2.5 hearts. I believe he does have a potion, so... And then everybody's favorite room here, Mimic Clip. Or not the Mimic Clip, the Mimic Room.
Yeah, Mark about... There it is. So there's Quake. So it wasn't technically in the dungeon. I think logic... I mean, it's logically part of... Turtle Rock, for obvious reasons. I don't know if the Ganon Silver's Hint considers it Light World, Dark World, or Turtle Rock. So that is officially go mode for Mark.
Yeah, I believe it's Death Mountain, but I know I personally always say it's part of the dungeon, even though you do mirror out. So that might be something we have to get confirmation from our wonderful admins.
Yeah, it does get a little dicey with modes like Inverted and Entrance Randomizer. But in that case, you know, in Entrance Randomizer, you know, location names are kind of worthless anyway.
So we did find our. Well, I thought that was our last key, but it looks like I must have miscounted on keys here. So we're gonna have to go all the way down to Laser Bridge.
Yeah, because we had to use all of the keys so far. Luckily, both of these runners have picked up the mirror shield. Not interested in anything else. Deciding to leave the silver arrows in Laser Bridge. Kappa. I mean, at this point with this loadout, if the silver arrows are in Laser Bridge, you don't care. with how last location-y this seed has been, there's no way you're not imagining you're behind. If you're not imagining you're behind, you have the confidence of a Wolverine.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. I mean, right now, as last location was for us to find that bombos, you have to be thinking in your head, okay, how long ago did your opponent check that?
Because, you know, and you're thinking, you know, all my opponent needed to do was, you know, I think I'll full clear Thieves Town here, which could be a reasonable play, a slightly questionable one, you know, to not dip out and just full clear Pendant Thieves Town. But, you know, if that's the first thing you're doing in the Dark World, and you're like, you know what, I think I have time, I'm going to be thorough here. That's all your opponent needed to do to just get a huge lead on you. And at this point, that could just totally be on both of these runners' minds.
Yeah, and just like that at 120, sub 127, Marcnificent gets his 6th crystal. He is now in go mode. While or not in go mode, got his 6th crystal, getting ready to go down and get his 7th. And speaking of go mode, Fantallis does pick up his Quake medallion at 127.01. So the difference is just shy of 3 minutes. So that can be made up easily in Ganon's Tower.
Yeah, a very interesting thing about, you know, the way that the seed would feel for each of these runners. Again, this is purely speculative on my part, but you know, Mark has more reason to feel behind than Fantallis does, in a lot of respects, because, you know, it had a lot of obvious early gambles that didn't pay off. But the lead here was taken because of those early gambles. Fantallis' cleanup ended up being a little less efficient overall.
Yeah, as early on in the game, as Mark was doing all of these pennant dungeons, we were questioning at the time, why is he spending much time? And surprisingly, at the very end, that's what it basically came down to, was these dungeon dips.
Like Fantallis lost some time to the Smith chain cleanup, did that a little inefficiently, made a gamble there. You know, it didn't end up being a factor, but the Spike Cave wasn't checked. And Mark sort of bundling stuff together ended up kind of working out in a strange way.
And it looks like we're going to go here, the bridge chests.
Oh, we're going for the hover. Misery Mire hover.
I'm going to assume that was the key.
Yeah, it was the big key. I saw the last couple frames of it. A valiant effort on Mark's part. It's pretty swag, and save some time if you can finish it off, but...
Yeah, that's definitely one of the hovers you don't see very often.
It's long. It's a long hover. Is that kind of comparable to the if anybody's familiar with Super Mario Odyssey, the wet nut jump. It's just it's a thing. You got to keep it up for a long time, and if you drop it, you start over. You know.
Well, unfortunately, I have to take your word on that one because I am probably one of the few people in the world that actually has not yet played that game.
It's one of my favorite names for a trick ever, honestly. The wet nut jump. It's not what it sounds, but it's exactly what it is. But I in either case, I applaud Mark for going for it. Again, it to go for it once doesn't lose that much time, especially since you got the keys and you can just go the safe way anyway. He lost maybe 5 seconds to that, which honestly isn't pretty bad given the reward that he could get from it. The risk reward ratio is actually pretty good on that, surprisingly.
Yeah, well, holy cow, look at that spam on that with that gold sword takes down Vitreous. So there it is. We are 1 hour 32 minutes, and that is Crystal number 7. Make sure that now that we have that, we can actually put in your guess here, 1 through 22 of the big key guessing game. Hopefully you've played that game before. If you don't know, well, here's a brief explanation. There is 22 chests down in the basement of Ganon's Tower. Anywhere in one of those 22 chests is the big key. So put in there where you think it is. All right, Asmar, what is your guess here? Where do you think it is?
I always guess 3, just because I always hope that it's tile room and that they just go hope left, hope right, tile room. But that's just I love seeing that happen. It's sort of for me, it's payback to tile room for being such an inconvenient location. It's taunting you by being right there at the start, but it takes so long to actually check it. Nobody ever checks it first. But when you do and you find it there, it's an unmatchable feeling.
Yeah, I'm with you. My go-to number is usually 12. Usually kind of in the middle of the dungeon. But as mean as this seed has been, I think it's going to be nice to us here in Ganon's Tower. So I'm going to say number 2. I'm going to say it's going to be there in the. I'm going to say not Hope Room. I'm actually going to say it's going to be there in the Stalfos room, that very first chest.
Yeah, my heart says I want to see it checked third check in tile room, but my gut is telling me that it's going to be in rando room this time. I don't know why. It's a random guess. Again, there's really no way of knowing, but
yeah, it's not like we're here in a couple weeks here where we're going to be having the spoiler log here in front of us.
Yeah, I need to make sure I see some of those. That's a format I'm not terribly familiar with, so it's going to be very interesting to see Fantallis forgetting that the switch had not actually been flipped.
Yeah, that's actually one of my favorite weeks is the spoiler log week, which is not next week. Even though it is week 4, it is not next week. It is the week after because of the SpeedGaming live tournaments going on. So there's chest number 1. It's a heart piece. Chest number 2, that's our last bottle. And he's mirroring out. Gonna make his way to the left side on the torch. Oh, we got the big key on.
Hey, there we go. Number 3.
Holy cow.
Just has to poke in here for another small key.
So
and, that's it.
You're the official winner, sir.
I'm the winner by the letter of the law, but in spirit I still feel like a loser because it wasn't in tile room. But I'll take it. I'll take the win.
Yeah, definitely get yourself 22 points, and you are now on the leaderboard. And then just like that, there is Crystal number 7 on Fantallis' side. Now he's going to make his way up the mountain. Right now, though, it's going to be kind of hard to make up the difference in time. Would probably need a couple Ganon Falls or even a Ganon Death. So I'm knocking on wood right now so that does not happen. But at the level these players are, I do not expect it to happen.
Yeah, and the other thing too is there's basically no potential for the silvers to show up either for Fantallis because there's no key in Hope Room, and you're not going to go looking around in the basement after seeing the big key on the torch. So the only way to get a key to go right side and do something that Mark didn't do before finding the torch is basically impossible.
Yeah, and that was probably the only other time save that he could have had was with those silver arrows. But then again, they both do have that gold sword. So I don't know how much time Silvers would have saved that much.
Yeah, we do. All we need is Fantallis can make up this time a little bit with a sloppy GT from Mark, but at this point with where that big key is, it's gonna be tough to make up.
Yeah, and the way he's going right now, he's making his way through the gauntlet, making it look so easy. I mean, it's just not fair how easy that looked. Now he's on land moles 2, using his fire rod shots and his butter swords to take him down. And now here we are in what everybody likes to say, the 2 most satisfying rooms of the game.
Yeah, the second one is a little trickier. The first one's really straightforward, but the second one, there are a lot more ways to do it wrong. The mistake I always used to make is I'd always place it from below, and then a lot of the time you don't have quite enough time to make it up to the last one to give it that old whack.
Yeah, so
for those of us just tuning in and or tuning back in, last some of you might have seen Fantallis had a pretty undeniable lead. Unfortunately, we ended up in a medallion hunt that led us back to Thieves Town, and it was a last location for basically both of the runners. Technically, Fantallis had Spike Cave left, but in the midst of all of the cleanup Fantallis had to do, Mark ended up squeaking back into the lead.
Yeah, which is really hard to believe. I mean, it ended up being in the on blind, ended up being Bombos, and then that had led us all the way back up to Turtle Rock, which we had to go all the way to Mimic Cave to get the Quake Medallion to get into Misery Mire, and that threw a wrench into everything. So
everything was pretty nice in this seed except for 3 items: Quake, Bombos, Flippers. Samaria was a little silly, but it was kind of in the nicest possible place for it to be.
Yeah, it was in that very first chest of Ice Palace, and just like that, that was a nice Sanctuary Heart there in the validation chest of Moldorm 2.
All right, so now we get to Aga 2, which is always I think it's the most interesting boss battle in this entire game, from a speedrunning perspective, because there's so much that can go into it. You can get a good fight with completely different strategies. So yeah, if that was done a little bit differently, that could have been a triple hit, but as it was just a single. There's a lot of subtlety that goes into this fight. I just think it's very interesting.
Yeah, we just need one more hit, and there he is. So 137 and change. Agate 2 is defeated, and now we're making our way to go fight that big pig.
Yeah, so this is kind of I don't like to call races early, but it's a little heartbreaking for but we're buddies here. Looking for the majority, the first hour of this race, there's a good chance to actually get a win on the board. But, managing to sort of not even throwing it away, but just getting denied. Because I think the routing from Fantallis was, arguably superior, got better luck with those early checks, but just completely blocked off by those medallion placements.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, the whole beginning race. I mean, we were questioning why Mark was clearing out these pendant dungeons while Fantallis was doing all the crystal and overworld checks. But in the end, it actually came down to pendant dungeon clears. And now we're here on phase 3 here on Ganon on Marcnificent's side. Throwing his little temper tantrum as he likes to do. There's number 3. He's going to tell us where those wonderful silver arrows are at. So if you got any guesses, throw them in right now. Oh, they're in Ganon's tower, just like, man.
What a surprise. You know, where else could they be?
All right, Esmar, you need to go buy yourself a lottery ticket because you guessed the big key right and you guessed where the silver arrows are at. So.
Oh no, I guess the silver arrows were on Laser Bridge.
Oh, did you? I thought you said earlier that they would be in Ganon's tower.
I mean, I was postulating that perhaps Fantallis might have found them in there. Honestly, by the numbers, in Ganon's tower is most likely to have them because we have 3 chests on Laser Bridge. I think we still have 2 checks in Mire because we had a God Mire and GT. That's about it. So them being in GT, not a big surprise.
Yeah, we didn't see any of Mire. We see the items in Mire, and just like that, there he down goes Ganon. On Marcnificent side, all he has to do now is cross that 1x3 bridge. Make sure you get your GGs into chat. And let's see, he does make it across the bridge. So with a time of 1 hour, 40 minutes, and 14 seconds, Marcnificent of Old Swagger Jackson is your winner. GG.
Yeah, meanwhile, we have Fantallis cleaning up the 3rd to last boss fight of the game. You know, maybe second and a half to last if you consider Aga 2 and Ganon to be 2 halves of 1 boss fight. Most people don't, but the game sort of does because it doesn't give you a refill after Aga 2. But yeah, GG's to Marcnificent, netting his team yet another win. Again, very important in this very close division. Sadly, but we're buddies remaining with that goose egg that so horrifically robbed from them today.
Yeah, if you look at that, that now puts them they're now 4-2 in the league. They're extremely tight now in their division. I mean, it depends on what happens with Digging Game in their race today. But that right there makes a 5-way tie into first place in that division. All of them are either 4-1 or 4-2, so all with 12 points. And Fantallis takes down Aga 2, and now getting ready to take on his fight with the Big Pig.
And hopefully this will be, you know, around another 2 minutes here. A good Ganon fight. Silverless is around 2 minutes. It's pretty optimal. So if nothing terrible happens, Fantallis will probably be finishing this off. If something terrible does happen, I imagine we'll see a did not complete here. But at being this close, you give it the old college try. Just get the practice in.
Oh yeah, I totally agree with you. One thing I just realized too is when I did my notes before this game, I had totally forgotten about it till now. But this was actually Mark's first victory in the league. He played. This is actually his 3rd match. He was in the co-op week with Kern. Unfortunately, they lost there, and then lost week 2. So this is actually his first victory of the league. So GG's on that one. It's always kind of nice to get that first victory underneath your fingernails.
Yeah, especially in a situation like this, you know, when you've got your teammates who are counting on you, you wanna make sure you're doing your part. Fantallis misses the torch glitch. Unfortunate. Not going to be a huge issue, just a little irritating.
Yeah, with half magic though, and he does have that green potion, so he's not like he's going to be hurting for magic here.
Yeah, it just makes the fight a little tiny bit slower. You can't get those nice triples in there.
Yeah, unfortunately, I kind of lost track. I think he's got about 2 or 3 more left to go.
My gut would tell me 1 more cycle, but my gut's been wrong before. My gut said the key was in Rando Room, so...
It looks like we were both wrong.
Well, I followed my heart. My whole heart told me it was number 3. And that was right, so...
There he goes. Down goes Ganon. Now Fantallis just needs to make his way across that 1x3 bridge, which has been many, many years since I've seen somebody actually follow that. Again, knock on wood, so that he doesn't do it. He does cross, and with a final time of 1 hour, 44 minutes, and 14 seconds. Get your GGs into chat for Fantallis, but we're buddies, a team. And currently joined with us right now, we do have Marcnificent in the booth. GG, Mark.
GG.
Any thoughts about that scene?
Yeah, how did you feel in the opening sequences? You made some plays that we were kind of questioning early on, and looked very unfortunate given what was happening on the other half of the screen. But tell us a little bit about the opening.
Yeah, at the beginning, I always count on, I don't know, I thought like, okay, early desert is like, and I had a bow as well, and I was like, and it's green pendant, so I was like, desert usually, in my head, I was thinking, oh yeah, desert's gonna give me lamp, and then lamp is gonna put Eastern and logic, and the green pendant will have we'll have progression. So in my head, that's what I thought, and I went with it, and I was wrong, and I felt just super behind all game. From that point on, all the way up until maybe where I got the Bombos medallion.
Because that was actually a last location for you, wasn't it?
Bombos? Yes, it was. I think maybe all I had was mushroom. I think I forgot to check the mushroom.
Oh yeah, you didn't turn in the mushroom, but it wasn't what you needed. I'll tell you that much.
It was in the back of my mind. I was like, oh man, mushroom could have that Quake medallion. I could be searching Turtle Rock, but I guess it didn't really matter.
Yeah, we also have Fantallis in here with us. Do you have any thoughts on what just transpired this afternoon?
I don't know. That was pretty demoralizing. Just like hunting around for 2 medallions for half an hour. That was fun.
Yeah. So from our perspective, the first there were sort of two major interesting parts in the first hour of the race. The first was that sort of 50-50 shot after Mini Moldorm Cave, where you get the book and the bow, and you have to decide which one to follow. Mark decided to take the numbers play and go to Eastern, and Fantallis decided to make that play over towards Desert and was handsomely rewarded for it. So that looked really good from the get-go. The second interesting part happened at the beginning of the Dark World exploration. Mark, you decided to go in full clear Skull Woods with that fire rod, where Fantallis made a quick dip in there, finished off the north side, and then cleared out Village of Outcasts. So can you tell us a little more about each of you, about your thought processes in making those decisions?
Okay, so after I got the Moon Pearl, I was thinking, okay, I have Fire Rod. Let's just head towards the Skullwoods area and hope that we have some crystals over there that I can, at least progress myself, catch up, because I felt behind at that point anyway. They ended up both being pendants, which felt even worse for me. So I was just like, all right, I'm already here. I have to follow through with it. I can't. I have to check the bag of Skullwoods and finish it, and at least check the pedestal as well. Yeah, I I don't know what else to say. I checked Ped, and I got the item on Moth and saved and quit. I was like, all right, I gotta go to Pod, because that's probably a much smarter player like that area. So I think pretty much from that point, I was just trying to think of routes to catch me up, catch me back up, and ended up being just Mitts and Thieves Town anyway. So I was like, well.
Yeah, you ended up getting those significantly later than Fantallis did, which again didn't look great for you. But in the end, it sort of came down to that medallion hunt, kind of forcing that full world clear from both of you, and it just ended up being a little less efficient for Fantallis in the end. Unfortunately, it's kind of heartbreaking in a way.
Yeah, I really expected stuff to just come along the way. I guess one of the problems with casual boots, especially with getting the mirror and the flute early, is you can really excuse just all the time. You can just excuse like, well, I can get back here really easily. So stuff like Smith Chain, bailing out just completely on Village of Outcasts early, just a bunch of stuff like that. You're just like, yeah, I can really get back here earlier or easy. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, and in a faster seed, that's not really gonna. It's not gonna make a huge difference. But in a seed like this, where you're getting 167 out of 216 with good Ganon's Tower placement, it's
Yeah, it's
all of those little bits of time that you lose, even with the flute mirror and boots, are gonna add up. One of the major points where Mark made up some time was that Smith Chain, having done all of that south area with Bombo's tablet, Stumpy Dig Game, all in one run, and then went straight up into Smith, whereas you sort of split it into like 3 different chunks.
Well, it just felt like I don't know. I thought so early on in the game. I felt like the sort of boots book combo was a more interesting thing than having the bow, which ended up being right. But then the entire time you're in the Dark World, you're just thinking, well, what do I got this bow for? What do I do with that? And so bailing and immediately going to pod, and then just getting nothing. And then you're like, okay, well, what do I do now? I think I nearly ended up it was very close to last locationing flippers.
Yeah, it was that or back of Thieves Town, as we were postulating.
That was one of the rough things.
Yeah, I had reached that point as well, and I knew that the Ice Palace, Desert Palace were our red crystals. I actually just a sequence broke in the Ice Palace so I could route in the red bomb to get those flippers, because I knew like flippers had to be in either Catfish Store or the back of Thieves Town. So,
well, I guess that was one of my big problems. Was my assumption was, listen, I got to get these flippers so that I can get into Swamp Palace, because there's got to be something in there that I'm looking for. So I ended up not doing any of that sequence breaky stuff and just looking around desperately for the flippers, and then Swamp Palace was just a complete bust.
Yeah, and you two were actually kind of an Ice Palace apart when you were both in Ice Palace. And sort of that was when things started to turn around, because coming out of Ice Palace and going on that medallion hunt, Fantallis, what you had left was 2 pendant dungeons in the back of Thieves Town, and whereas Mark had already cleared 2 of the pendant dungeons at that point, so was just Swamp Palace and back of Thieves Town, which, in terms of routing efficiency, is a much better spot to be in at that point. Because you get led down that rose laden path of doing all of those mildly juicy pendant dungeon dips that you skipped earlier, and not getting anything back for it, which was sort of ultimately what took the lead from you.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. I
mean, in my opinion, the story of this seed was all of the right decisions ended up being wrong.
Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like mine was the opposite. I
Right.
feel like all my wrong decisions ended up, I guess, being right in the end, because it ended up being that last location.
Yeah.
Anyway, so.
It's rough to watch, because it's like, man, nobody's making any bad plays. Who checks the back of Pendant Thieves Town when the mitts are in the front? Nobody does that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I would have done much differently. Maybe, route in some of the. It just feels real weird, I guess, doing like South Dark World and trying to do Smith Chain, trying to do that whole thing when pod is sort of right there, and they gave you the lamp, so they're like, maybe you should go over there. But then I don't think that lamp did anything. That was not speaking from a technical, but speaking from a logical perspective, that it was just sitting there and not in any way useful to make any predictions about anything at all.
Yeah, pod wasn't a pendant, so it was completely valueless. Anyway, if we have, I don't know if we have anything else to say about it. I mean, even the vanilla flips was, not the most interesting thing about the seed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty garbagey, but that's all right.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot to be happy about in, hour 40 casual boots.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Very
Subtract
scattered.
20 minutes from that. Especially, I don't know, that Bombos medallion was seeded pretty early on, as far as the game was concerned. Just seeded really badly. Anyway, I don't know. Not going to worry about it too much.
Yeah. One of those seeds, I guess.
All right, so with that said, I think that about wraps it up for this stream. If I'm checking the schedule right, we've got some other races coming up later tonight. I think just one more on SpeedGaming 3 here. At 8:10 Eastern, we have the Fendrana Drifters versus Team Kappa. It's going to be Megawatt versus 1UP. So stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, kick back, depending on your time zone, have dinner. And we'll see you all back then. I've been Esmar, joined by Bandman25. And we'll see you all tonight.
Good night, everybody.
All right, GG.
Later, GG.